Why does Jason Friedman need to meet Drew Feldman? This is Just Press Record. We talk about how conflict makes for good storytelling. Pay extra attention for when Drew breaks us down. We talk about what it means to be a workaround guy. And yes, there's a lot of nuance in that term. And of course, why integrity, being genuine, and building that reputation every day matters now more than ever. Jack Forehand, let's roll some clips.
I'm pretty brutally honest with everyone about just who I am. So I'll tell you, I quit on Cinco de Mayo. So I quit on May 5th. There's a psychological reason why. It was a day of celebration, and I thought it was a great day to quit my job. In reality, it was like pure panic.
I don't have any vice. I don't have any willpower. So I just set my life up in a way to try to maximize, to get around myself and my, big ego and everything else that comes with it. I just try to do workarounds.
It was like 20 people in the meeting, and he says, if anyone wants to go to a hockey game, I own a team. And he made that joke or that comment, maybe as a joke. No one was to take on the offer. Well, got his card, texted him, was like, hey, it's Jason. We'd love to go to a game. And I said it in the way that I usually type, which is kind of just a little casual. He's like, all right, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it.
I think it's the same thing for telling stories to clients. And I don't mean this in a bad, but you have to hit their pain points, right? And so I personally look at it very cleanly. When I think of story, I think of advisor to client. It's a hero's journey. They are the Luke Skywalker, name your hero, right? Going on their journey. It's about them, not the advisor. Yeah, our background is interesting, but at the end of the day, the driver is Luke. There's no good story with Luke if there's not Darth Vader. So to keep pushing this metaphor, you have to focus on what's hard for what is their difficult piece.
This was a month after I had just quit my job. And I'm like me, I talk quick, I talk with my hands, I'm kind of emotional, good and bad. And she's like, Jason, never change who you are, just be yourself. And she said, it's going to carry you a long way.
You're watching Just Press Record right here on Cultish Creative YouTube, the show where I take two strangers from my network of misfits, miscreants, and mysteriously curious people that I am so convinced they should meet. I send them both a calendar invite with a blind request to show up on this call, and we just press record. It's terribly interesting. It's terribly exciting. They've got no idea who the other person is. Don't forget, we are brought to you by the good people at Panoptica. See the world through stories. Check them out, panoptica.com. Without further ado, who are my guests that are here with me today? This first guest, and I mean this in the truest compliment sense, he's an industry journeyman of more than one industry, and he's almost made it big a few times. In fact, I'll say you'd have to go to a movie like Rounders or The Big Short to price similar odds of a guy with this work ethic and ambition coming in second, because his love of the art, the form, the genre of film, that's bigger than the payoff to him, and I respect that. So without a Sundance title, he's still dancing in the sun. You know what I mean? Because he's a journeyman who knows real life requires you have to stretch your brain so that if you make it there, you can make it anywhere. And that can include Rochester, New York, too. He's a journeyman who knows you don't have to be all premium growth all the time. You actually can be all growth all the time, which is why he's mostly positively trending at a discount, because he knows that's the place to be. It can only mean one thing: free lunch films, money for makers. The man himself is here, Drew Feldman. Finally, welcome to Just Press Record.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Congrats. That was great.
That was good.
Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema.
Was AI involved in any way, or was that pure Matt?
Oh, that's just pure Matt ADHD magic there. That's
amazing.
That's the way we roll, okay? All right, I have to introduce you, Drew, to this other guest because he apparently loves to eat. So this is almost a dinner and a movie date. It's close, but I have a pitch here. I have this show idea. It's like a show and restaurant experience. I want to call it To Catch a Foodie. And I know that's a little edgy, but we pick an online food personality and then we create a pop-up list to lure them in. And so for this guest, we would do maybe sushi rolls, like Tsukemono balls, and we put a bowling alley and a pickleball court next to the restaurant, because I'm pretty sure that would be the way that we catch him. Because, seriously, also a journeyman too. He's wearing lots of hats in lots of places, but all that perspective that made him think of the what's behind the hows. And we're going to get into this, especially in the world of professional matchmaking. He's an advisor yenta of sorts, if I can borrow the expression. And that can only mean one thing. Yes, he dreams of sushi as much as Jiro, but that's only when he's not busy running Advisor Finder. Welcome to the show, finally, Jason Friedman.
I love it. You captured it perfectly. I just had sushi twice in the last few days. So I can't tell you how many days, but it's been a few days and twice. So
any
perfect.
Tsukumono? Are we into like the weird pickled things?
I like everything. I would
can't
eat
go wrong.
anything that a chef puts in front of me, which is scary, but I'll do it.
Are you an eat anything type of guy, Drew? Will you eat anything that anybody puts in front of you?
No.
Are you picky?
No.
I'll pick
I
you
used
up.
to be very picky as a kid. Now
And now
I'm
you're-
somewhere between I'll eat anything and picky.
Okay. So
There.
I'm throwing us right into this deep end. We can let food and other things and pickiness come back into this as much as your childhood hearts want to dive into that trauma. But I think I really just want to get this story on the table from the jump. Drew just launched a registered investment advisor, an RIA, a business. Just started. He is not a trained investment person whatsoever. And Drew, you got to tell the story to Jason about what you've had going on, because I think he's going to have
I need to hear it.
questions.
Yeah. What?
Let's get this
Okay.
on the table.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, I should start by saying I don't have an RIA. I'm part of Core Planning, which is an RIA. But I am enjoying my own branding, as well as I serve clients. Where can I start? Jason, what do you want to know based on that?
Well, how did you turn acting?
He's not 22. Let's put this in here. There's a film background. He's not 22. This isn't a fresh out of college decision. I'm doxing your age.
Yeah. How did the film career turn into investment career?
So right now it's both actually.
Yeah.
And when people ask me, they say, "Well, how do you do both?" And I say, "Yes."
It's the correct way to answer that.
Fair answer.
Exactly. Yeah. So how it started was, really it started at the end of my BFA in acting, my conservatory training that I did. We had a class my senior year. I was an acting major, and they sat us down and they said, "Here's some things that you can do in order to be able to have enough money to buy headshots and everything else that you need to, live as an actor." And they said, the number one thing, apply for food stamps. And that was the start of leaving university and going out, as an artist. And through a lot of difficulty, I quickly learned how little I knew about finance. And even when I was getting good projects, and I was like, why is this just not sticking? I'm making okay money on some of these, some television shows, things like that, but it's just not it's not working. I keep, and it's a grind and variable cash flow. So, and I had student loan debt. At one point, I even racked up a bit of credit card debt. And then I found Dave Ramsey. And that was my on-ramp to sort of getting into personal finance. So I went through his whole system. I cut up my credit cards, budget. I still, to this day, it's been almost a decade, I budget every single penny that I spend. It's just now like habit. I know where every dollar goes, but I had to, especially when I was as an artist, and I eventually moved into directing and writing, and that became my primary source of income and career. I had to figure out how to manage all these things. I had to be very mindful of what was going on in my budget. And then one thing led to the next. I was on a Bogleheads forum because, once you get into that, you're like, well, what do I do next once I, figure out my cash flow? And then I got into investments, and then I went down a whole rabbit hole. I actually wore a shirt today, a Rational Reminder, gear right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Get the swag out. All right.
It's the factors. Okay. I did it for you. I
love
did it
it.
for my intro to the world. Yeah. And then I was just, bumping around on, forums, and I found myself like during the day I was writing screenplays and working on set, and at night, to put myself to bed, I would read academic papers on investing and finance, and I had no idea why I was doing it. My wife was like, "What's going on with you?" Like, and during COVID in particular, I really was able to take, a deeper dive, had more time on our hands to get into it. Yeah, so that's sort of the genesis, and then to actually move to the advisor space, which is pretty new for me. A couple of years ago, I was in between projects. Sometimes you have long spells of, in between things. And, I was like, well, I like this finance space. I had been coaching other artists and people in my Jewish community, like on budgets, cash flow, paying off debt. And everyone always asked me, well, what do I do with my investments? I'm like, well, I can't tell you. Here's some resources I like, and then, I met with an agent at one point, and I'm pitching myself as in film and TV, and he's, and I'm telling him I have this finance background and I've been writing things like margin call and other things because I'm, combining these worlds. He's like, he's my age. I'm in my mid-30s. He's like, I'm terrified of inflation. Inflation. It was just 2022. And I was like, relax, man. You're all good. You're young. No problem. And so people just started asking me for my opinion and I couldn't give it. And so over time, it just kind of grew. And eventually I met a guy named Guy Penn who liked my creative energy. I still wanted to write and direct. I wasn't sure I could do both. And that's kind of where we're landing today.
Wow. There's actually some similarities that I have with you and like your journey of like finding wealth management and becoming an advisor.
Hey, it's only right. You got to share this
Yeah.
back. And again, I'm going to remind you, I wrote down why I thought you guys should meet before we got here. We'll play the game if you can guess in the end
I'm
of what's
curious why.
back. But I think there's a few similarities too, sir. Maybe you should share a few of those.
Sure. Well, first of all, Drew, I mean, I think it's fair to say Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. I'm sure
I mean,
that's number one. Matt, is that
it's
one?
one similarity.
Was that one off
I-
the?
I
Hey.
didn't just draw a Star of David on the back. I promise you.
I'm just saying. I know, but I'm just saying. I love.
Yeah.
I
I did get a
menorah.
Yenta reference in there for both of you.
Yeah, of course there had to
I
be. Yeah,
did feel that.
Come on. Okay.
There was
Just making sure.
energy there, but
There's also Friedman and Feldman on the call, so it's
it was almost too close. No, but yeah, no, Drew. I mean, it's funny. My background, I took almost like a traditional path into the wealth management space. I was obsessed with finance in college, and while I wasn't married, I had no wife. Asked me why I was obsessed with it. My roommate would be like, "Why are you going to the library or the business school on Saturday and Sunday and like just reading?" And I would go and I would read investment books because I was never the smartest person in the class, but I was, I was just kind of driven to learn. So learned a lot about finance, studied risk management, and graduated with a dual degree. And I went to work at Wells Fargo Advisors in Nashville. I was one of 20 analysts around the country learning what it was like to become an advisor and just kind of the various different roles within the wealth management space. And, the traditional route, I worked under 20 advisors, I switched firms, I became an advisor. So in a way, I mean, there is some similarity with my background. Now, I took a turn. It's funny how you had people asking you for financial advice when you were not an advisor. I would have friends ask me to help them find an advisor when I was an advisor. But I was at Merrill Private Wealth. We had a true minimum in place. So, I couldn't really take them on as clients. And at that point, when I was, 24, 25 or so, I was like, it's really hard to help this person find an advisor. Like, how am I going to help my friends find an advisor? And then it dawned on me that there really needs to be a better way to find a financial advisor. And so after many months of no sleep and Sunday anxiety about what to do with my life, I quit. Non-tech background, financial advisor goes on to start a tech company. So that's who I am as a professional. Not as a overall person, but just my professional experience.
Wow, very
What-
cool. What? Oh, am I allowed to ask questions, Matt? Or...
Yeah, you dive right in. Take over, my friend.
Hey, Matt, get out of here, okay? I'm hanging out with Jason.
Yeah.
No, we got to keep you in, Matt. You're good commentary. I'm curious what that leap was like for you from sort of, you're at Merrill, presumably it's, maybe a little cushier, and now you're going to go out and be an entrepreneur. Like what was that all about for you? I'm actually curious literally about like the psychological, emotional moment for you when you took the leap. Like, I want to know when you said I'm leaving. Like, when did you quit? What was that like?
Um, so I'm pretty brutally honest with everyone about just who I am. So I'll tell you, I quit on Cinco de Mayo. So I quit on May 5th. There's a psychological reason why. It was a day of celebration, and I thought it was a great day to quit my job. In reality, it was like pure panic. Um, I knew that I like needed to quit because I knew I needed to pursue this, and if I never did, I would always regret not trying. So like I had that behind me saying, "You're gonna regret not trying if you don't quit and pursue this." And how in the world are you going to try to build a tech company? You have no background, you have no capital to invest in this company. Some people close to me said, "Don't do it." Like all this kind of two competing emotions, and so ultimately, one beat the other. I knew it was just too big of a regret to not try, and so when I quit, it was a sense of like relief, but also a sense of I've got to get my what together. Like I've got to get my stuff together, and then it was a bit of pure panic. I mean, it was pure panic. I needed to just do something. I needed just to start working on it. So that's not the answer you're looking for. I'm happy to like kind of dive in more, but I don't know. It was
I think that's great. What made you decide to? Many people will start their projects on the weekends, in the evenings, while they
yeah.
have the steady income. What made you decide to go, I want out of here. I want to focus on this full time?
Yeah, it came down to like me serving my clients in Merrill and regulations and compliance and all that stuff. Like I knew I couldn't even try to do both at once. So I unfortunately like didn't really have like the cushion to do both. I would have, but no, that's why. But no, I mean, there was a point where every Sunday, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, I would go to her and I'm like, I'm just freaking out. Like I feel like I had like almost like a mental breakdown. I was like, I am so conflicted. Like I really want to pursue this. I don't know if I can. I don't know how to. And like I don't want to work. Like I don't want to go to work tomorrow. It was like this whole thing. It goes for a few weeks. So it was really hard. I mean, it was really really hard emotionally to do a time in my life, I will say. But that's why I couldn't do both. But it's worked. It's okay. I mean,
How many years since you jumped, Jason? Since you took this plunge?
um, well, quit May 5th, 2022. So
Or is
it's
it,
been over 3 years.
do you think, and I'm curious because so now Drew's like fresh on his shaking
Yeah.
up the snow globe that is life experience here.
Well, Drew's background in acting and writing is like the same thing as being an entrepreneur. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like it's so risky. So like, how are you able to graduate college and like digest what life was as
Food
a
stamps. He already told you. Food
writer, an
stamps.
artist? Like, yeah, literally, like what was that like for you? Like, what's that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, describe that time in
Yeah,
your.
I mean, you're right in some ways that in many ways nothing has changed about my life because as a writer director, I was just pitching projects and doing things on my own, and there's only money coming in when I'm getting the projects, right? Or right now I'm prospecting like crazy, and I think I can help a lot of people, so I'm reaching out, letting them know that I'd like to help them. And so it's really not that different. I mean, I was never watching webinars before. Now I'm watching
Mhm.
webinars. you know,
So
um,
different. Yeah.
so that's not true. I mean, we go to festivals or things like that. Okay, there are occasional webinar, but there's a lot of webinars in the advisor. Everyone has a webinar. So, and a podcast, and so, uh, uh, yeah, initially getting out of college, I was lucky. My first job out of college, I toured with America's longest running classical touring company. I was still an actor at the time, so I was booked for a year out of my life. I went all over the U.S. doing Shakespeare. So that was nice to come out of university with a job.
Mhm.
And after that, I also had some success, but like most, I was doing at one point. Let's see, I was doing a show off Broadway at one point, and then I was also the M&M in Times Square at the M&M store.
No
Okay.
way.
Yeah, 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 my best role, my greatest role ever, and
A true thespian.
Claim to fame.
yeah, claim to fame. And, another point, I was selling yogurt at a Whole Foods, doing samples of yogurt in between going to auditions. And I started a theater company and we started doing shows with this theater company, and then we toured, so it was just about, piecing it all together. And the goal really, I think most of my class, many of us are no longer, in the industry. Maybe 2 or 3 of us are still in the industry. The goal was not to make money. The goal was just to not have a day job. That was the goal, right? So as long as you could just not have a day job, and make it, then you were doing well. And I was fortunate that I would have very long stretches where that would work out, where I'd be hired as an equity, as an actor in an equity theater and whatever. So it was, but it was gig work from day one. There was never any stability, even though my mother would have loved me to find a real job. So yeah, it doesn't feel very different actually, building this new offering out.
No, I'm curious. So like it's clear that you are a grinder. Like you're very persistent and you work really hard. So how did you grow up? Like was work ethic and work talked about a lot when you were younger? Or no?
I was a very average student, but I learned that when I liked something, I went all in on it. I was one of those, those
Okay.
types. I did
Same, yeah.
very well. Yeah, I did very well, but if it didn't feel, even math, I used to say I hate math. Now all of a sudden I'm punching in on a financial calculator, right? As I got, as I'm going through the CFP and like, and I don't hate it, right? It just, I didn't realize there were many things I didn't realize had to be, practical. Um, I just lost my train of thought. What was your question again?
Like how you grew up and if work and work ethic was talked
Oh
about a lot.
yeah. No, I don't.
You had a lot of that.
The work ethic actually came from my years at university. I went to 2 places. I went to Oklahoma City University, and that was a very good program, a strong program as an actor. I went to a place called the National Theater Institute, and that was considered boot camp for artist training. It was 1 semester. It was a semester away. We spent some time in LA. It was at a place in Connecticut called the O'Neill Theater Center. I learned my work ethic there. It was 6 in the morning until whenever you finish your work at night, which was usually midnight, 7 days a week for the entire semester. There was no weekends. The whole point was to come and be completely immersed. They even said at the beginning, you will not have time to do everything here. We're teaching you to learn how to prioritize. You will be overwhelmed. It was a very intense place. I don't think it wouldn't be a safe place to go for more than a semester, but you could handle it. No one slept. And and there was just this sense of, and also in my conservatory, and I think some of this was a little dangerous for me. I've had to work on this over the years, a sense of every second you're not working, someone else is taking your job, your role, right? And so I came out of the university with that having been in my head for 4 years nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And I also knew it was difficult. So it was like, okay, and so my work has been to not work, so to let go a little bit of that, right? So I was programmed, Jason. I was programmed.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Matt, I don't know if Matt could bring Matt in the conversation, but I've had conversations with him because I've said to Matt, you do so much. I was like, how? And he's like, I work all the time. And it sounds like you do the same thing. And it's like really hard to find the balance of working and being with your wife. I think we're all married now. So yeah, I have that struggle and I see that struggle, but it's interesting to hear how that was built for you.
I'm curious how that is for you now as an entrepreneur. I mean, presumably you weren't having to work, 24/7, and now there's really not an off time, I imagine.
No, there's no off time really. I don't know. I don't have it figured out. Truthfully, like I work a lot. I work all the time, and I try to have an off switch. Like I've gotten better at it as the business has been built, and we're not so scrappy. And we have a real company now, per se. So it's gotten better. But I mean, as far as the balance goes, Tuesday is the one night where I try to shut my notifications for work off at like 5, 6 o'clock, and then that's like our date night. That's what we set, and it's typically always the case. And now I work on the weekend one day, usually not really both. So like I've made little adjustments here and there, and just try to be more present. When I'm not working, I try to be more present. Phone down, spend time with family, friends, wife, that kind of thing.
This part of it, and in particular, and it goes back to, it's this Herminia Ibarra thing. Do you guys know? I probably have talked to both of you separately about this topic. Herminia Ibarra.
Not sure. Yeah.
She did this amazing work in the early 2000s, published. I want to say it's Harvard published, and Working Identity was the name of the book. And there's been lots of follow-up studies since. But the big takeaway from that book, so she tracked all these people who made like crazy career transitions. So it's like the corporate lawyer who becomes like a poet or an artist or whatever else. And the little league coach who becomes like a Buddhist monk, and just all sorts of weird, crazy things. And uniformly, what she said was, from the time of starting the transition to being all the way in, it's about a 5-year period. And you can't start anything new without you should probably assume about 3 years on average of just being wildly out of your depth.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, there's something, there's really something to it. You will experience. Jason, you're there. And with 3-ish years in the belt on this, you've got Tuesdays and maybe Sundays figured out with your spouse, which I applaud you. And similarly, like I'm pretty hardcore about 5 o'clock-ish. All those notifications get shut off. Mm-hmm. And same thing like on the weekends. I really try to put like no social media, nothing on weekends, just because if I don't have enough wiggle room away from that, from the work email and everything else, it's like I will get sucked back in really, really fast. But then I'll also do lower quality work. Mm-hmm. But you have to really wrestle with that for a while before you can even start to draw those boundaries. Actually, Drew, I'm kicking this over to you on this. This is not to scare you away from the next 3 years of your life. This is to say, I think something with film practice or with an arts practice, you kind of learn these like life cycles of projects. And your brain starts to think in these like micro lifestyles, and then how you're going to sequence them together. And trying to plan something that's more of I don't want to call it a lifestyle type of business, but it's like if you full on become an advisor, you're going to be an advisor kind of 24/7, 7 days a week, 365, the whole thing. That's not the project to project thing. Are you wrestling with that in your head right now?
Really, though, being an artist is not project to project either. I'm thinking about it every single second, right? Like, I'm working on a script right now. I'm working, through ideas for a short film with a guy named Tom Harden. And the way I'm, just to give you an idea, as I'm just started out on this venture, the way it's been going, and I've also found for myself, I do my best analytical work in the mornings, and then I really do much better writing late afternoons into evenings. So I've been writing in the evenings, and I've been working during the day. And occasionally, if I get inspired, because that doesn't always come around a lot, and I am able to, I will push other things off to get some writing in. But yeah, it's always been full on. And I will say, the one thing that has kept me going, and Jason, I think you'll know what I'm talking about here, is I observe Shabbat fully. I take a full day off. 25 hours from Friday night sundown to Saturday night sundown. I do not use my phone. If something's happening in Bitcoin, I will have no idea if the crypto markets are crashing, right? And no one can find me, no art project. I've turned down projects because of it, and it truly is a practice, and it's no technology, nothing, and I think that is the only way I've been able to survive any of this.
Wow.
And it's what drew me to that. I was drawn to that as an artist first, because it was like, whoa, I needed, and it takes, I remember, just as an example, it sort of feels related. My first television show that I directed, I was so hyped up. And I was lucky that they agreed to plan the shoot so that I could end before sundown on Friday night. So we finished, Friday at 4 shooting. Okay. And I was completely hyped up. It was my first time with such a big crew and everything else. I couldn't, it took me until midday the next day without any technology or any phone to finally come down from the energy of that experience. And I can't even imagine, had I still had my phone and been texting the people on set and thinking about it, how much longer it would have taken me to come down from that. So I'm a big fan of the digital detox. I think it's very important. So anyway, forget about Shabbat, but that's been a big benefit to me.
That's it's interesting because I we do Shabbat, but I don't typically just observe it in terms of turning my phone off and technology, and I still drive and I still work, so I don't. But I
This
had a
this is
conversation.
not me calling you out in the podcast,
No, I
Jason.
know. Trust me, it's not.
It's all
Yeah,
good. It feels very, to me, it's very much in the rhythm of my
yeah.
life, in terms of how I manage myself, and
Well,
it's
it's
like
funny 'cause
one
I had a
unit.
convers. Sorry, no, I had a conversation with very very successful um individual. Like I don't want in real estate, one of the largest private real estate companies in the U.S. and he observes Shabbat, and I was like, how do you do that? Like, how do you run the massive company and still turn off at Friday, like, for at sundown? And he kind of explained the situation in somewhat similar to what you said. It's just a time for him just to come down from everything, relax for a moment, and it forces him to stop working. That's really what it is. It forces him to stop. So, um, maybe I should start.
I will say
A little, a
for
little
my
bit. Yeah.
no, yeah, but I mean, for myself, I just don't think I have the willpower to not be on my phone at any other point.
Mhm.
People, I'm going to put it away for 2 hours or 3 hours. It's much easier, at least for my mind, whatever it is, right? To think this period,
Yeah.
no matter what, it's a practice. I'm not touching it, no matter what. This period, everywhere else, and then you keep the candy out of the room. You're not gonna eat it. So I think that
Mhm.
that's helpful for me.
Yeah. I like that.
I, the hard the hard stop, I think, is one of the more, like, we need that, right? There's something inside of our brains where it's literally, and part of it's the come down, because there's nothing worse. Jason, I'm sure you have stories about this where it's like, even when you're committed to the stop, something just happened 30 seconds before you're like, well, this is the time I shut it off.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, and it's like, I'll walk downstairs and my wife will be like, why are you vibrating?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how was your day? Good. It wasn't good. Tell me, tell me
Yeah.
what the thing is. And I'm like, all right, this is the okay environment for me to vent. I had to like learn that as an adult, but it's like, there is an okay time to like slightly uncork the bottle and let some of this out. But if you don't have that time, like, there's a mental recuperation from not having the dings, the buzzes, and the neediness of the world. Like,
It's
you
like a
gotta.
therapy session for me to like force myself to turn it off. I mean, really, I
When's the last time you
cannot
turned
turn it
off,
off.
Jason? Now
What?
it's an intervention. When's the last time you totally turned all your devices off?
No, I've
3 years
never.
ago?
No, I've
Never?
never done it. No, I've never done it. It's probably bad, truthfully. And it's not like a brag. It's actually like a bad. It's not like great. It's because there's times when I should, and something happens at 5 p.m. and I carry it over until that whole night. It just happened recently. I was at dinner and I couldn't. I was a shell of myself. I could not be present in that dinner, and all I could think about was what just happened. And it's so hard for me to shut off. And I was looking at my phone, looking at my watch, seeing some notifications coming in. It was really bad. So yeah, it's not like I'm laughing, but not great.
Lived by
Yeah,
definitely the two of us in
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
ways.
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
What,
I,
I don't
I,
know. Give some advice, Joe.
I,
Think about this.
Let's hear
No,
that.
no,
Let's
no,
hear it.
no, 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 no.
Let's hear it.
I don't have any vice. I don't have any
Yeah.
willpower. So I just set my life up in a way to try to maximize to get around myself. I just try to get around my own myself and my
Yeah.
big ego and everything else that comes with it. I just try to do workarounds. That's all I can figure out. Even like even budgeting every dollar, because I think I like to spend. So if I don't do it, I will just because I don't know. I think maybe creatives like to push boundaries, and don't like boundaries. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of a yin yang with that. So I've just found I've just found things to help, pull me in. I am curious on just a positive note, Jason, like what's going on with your company? What's the latest? How, let's talk about the good stuff because you have put in a lot of work, it sounds like. So I want to hear like what's
Yeah.
going on and what you're excited about.
Well, I appreciate you asking that. And it's funny, I was going to ask you almost something similar, but I'll talk about me for a second, which is hard to, I've learned. But, you know, I will fast forward the first year and a half of business because that was very tough to get off the ground, very, very hard, trying to figure out the path, where we position ourselves. But now we're in a really, really good spot. I'm excited about the path ahead. We've really found our footing and positioning in the market. And what's like new and exciting? We just came out with a co-branded survey with U.S. News and World Report, specifically on financial advisors and wealth management. So we're making that a ongoing thing every single quarter, which is great because U.S. News is one of the most trusted, oldest media companies I think in the U.S. So that's been fantastic to have that exposure and survey and what the team is growing nicely. Looking to build out entire new functions into 2026, and just I don't know. I mean, capitalize on what we built. I feel like business and especially in this industry, like, a lot of it's built on relationships that have taken years for me to build. And like I'm super myself and very, I'm just me. Like I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm not like the most polished person either, but I'm just me. But it's proven to be really successful. Like I like people and I'm good at building relationships. And so all those have really taken time to build, like years in some cases. And now they've turned into partnerships in the business sense. So I'm excited about that, growing that into 2026, I guess. I don't know if that was the most full answer.
No,
No, but I
I'm
think
also curious. Oh, go ahead.
no, I want the scale just of this just for a second, and then I want you to follow up with this. How many people, how many advisors exist on this platform that you help match up with people today versus, I don't know, a year ago or 2 years ago? Ballpark.
The network today is like 22,000 advisors total between all firms. Like,
Right.
we don't have 22,000 advisors on the platform itself, but like, there is a possibility, yeah, through all of our firm partnerships. We launched with, so I had pre-sold some of the product in 2023, 49 or 50 or so. And then entered 2024, well, couple hundred, maybe 200 or so. It's been pretty exponential growth. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like 50 to 200 to 20 odd thousand in a few year period.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's
It
pretty cool
is.
growth.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's
it's
a lot
cool
of
to say-
relationships.
Yeah. Like firms that we work with, firms and advisors that we work with, I think in total manage like $2.3 trillion or something, which is pretty significant. It's cool to say that because of the size and scale of like the companies that we work with and people. And yeah.
What were you thinking, Drew, before I
I
jumped
was
in there
just going to
without?
ask about how you guys are thinking about AI in the advisor space.
Really funny you mentioned that because I just talked to my team today about, we talk about AI all the time and, talk to the team about building, more of a thorough roadmap for it, built, based on what we've already built. But I think it's going to change. I think about it from a few different ways. One, how is it going to change how people discover advisors? If it is, how. Two, how is it going to change how advisors are marketing to the end client? And three, how is it just going to change the industry as a whole? And has that impact our customers? Has it impact our business? So I think broadly speaking, it's hard to say how it's going to change how people discover advisors. I do think there's something to it, but I don't know how it's going to change how people discover advisors yet. I really don't. But I do think it's going to impact the way that advisors are able to market themselves because it's going to augment what they can do today. I think it's going to enhance advisors' ability to create and be creative. I think it's going to allow someone like you yes, you work for Core, but you're a one-man band. It's going to allow you to do a lot more with fewer resources. But I think it's going to make you more efficient. One of the downsides that I can see, and it's unfortunate, I've kind of wrote about it, but I think it's going to make the advisor shortage worse. I think more firms are going to say, we don't need to hire as many people because we can use AI to do X, Y, Z. But those jobs that are going to be replaced by AI are entry-level jobs that are typically ones that advisors or people that want to become advisors will work at and be a part of. So I don't know. There's a lot a lot to unpack, but I'm trying to be broad here a little bit. What do you think? I mean, you're new into this. I don't know how new you are in the industry, but I'm saying new in an industry. Like, how are you using AI today? And like, what do you?
You started off with like 49 clients too, right? You pre-sold those seats, Drew?
yeah, exactly. Jason, I'm new. I don't think you know how new I am.
I don't know how new. I never. How new are you?
I'm so new that I just a month ago got through the 65, right?
Okay.
That's how new I am. What's cool is I think I'll be onboarding a few clients already in next year, which I'm really excited about.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm very new, and I definitely was keeping. I mean, obviously in film and TV, AI has been a massive growth creator, potential creator, and also a fear creator. And I think in the advisor space, as I was considering jumping in, right, and wanting to build out, this practice, I did a lot of research, about AI, and I'm still not fully sold either way. My sense is, and why I decided to keep going, that though AI can answer many of our questions pretty well, I just think when it comes to money, really what matters is how people behave with it and how it hits them where it hurts. And that, I just don't know how you outsource that to AI. Maybe it'll get good enough, but at least not for the next 20, 30 years, in my opinion. I think people want a human hand, even if it's true. I mean, look, I'm an example, right? I am a self-starter, and I like, educating myself. It makes me feel empowered. I got into a lot of the investing stuff, and I did my APMA designation, all these things, because I like doing it myself when I'm excited. So I'll go do the research, I'll put in the time. It had to literally become a hobby for me to spend the time to get into it. And by the way, I still have an advisor myself.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important, even though, and we mostly pitch ideas back and forth, but I think it's good to have someone hold my hand as I'm, moving forward and helping other people. So I don't know, in terms of, as I'm learning all these tools, right, there's all these new AI tools for advisors. So my sense is that for people that are bright, they'll realize how important an advisor is to have, and that it has nothing to do with facts and everything to do with feelings in many ways. Obviously, it does have a lot to do with facts. I'm taking that from some political person I once heard. I don't remember who says that. Oh yeah, I know who says that. But yeah, okay.
You're right. Can I curse on this or no?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go for it.
I'll say, can I curse? I mean, I think like when shit hits a fan, you're not going to trust. People are not going to trust a chatbot or however you relay with some kind of AI technology. You pick up the phone, you're going to call your advisor and be like, I'm scared. I just did X, Y, Z. I need help. Just help me not make a bad decision. It's really, heavily based on emotion. I think AI is not touching that. AI is not touching the relationship between an advisor and a client. People at the end of the day, they would rather trust a human than a robot, and a human augmented by technology. But yeah, no, I'm with you.
What do you think about? So you're getting pieces of the Drew story here, Jason. You're getting pieces of like the background, and something that I always love asking you about and poking around on your site for is Like, how does Drew lean into telling this story about what he does to actually find people who it's going to resonate with? Because you have this whole platform that kind of helps. I made the Enta joke very deliberately. Like, you're actually trying to go, this person has this person wants that. How do I just make it more efficient to connect them? Because, spoiler alert, like, Facebook groups or something are not usually the best way to vet these things.
Well, there's two sides of the coin. So, for like our job as a company is to be the place that people go to find an advisor. So like that's what we have to do like the best job at. And then the next thing we do is we have to help someone like Drew and you, like Matt, tell their story that you just told me like kind of offline, but bring it online. And so to do that is you have to share your background, like share who you are as a person, share who you are as a professional. I think the point of a website or a service like ours is to build the spark. Like you build the initial spark between the consumer and then the advisor. And how you do that is the sharing of the sharing of information, sharing that you're credible, sharing who you are, what you do, the kind of clients that you serve, why you became an advisor. You want to build a spark to the point that the spark is enough for the consumer to reach out to you to have a conversation. That's really what it is. So like, yeah, it's funny, Matt. We realize that it's very, very, very hard for us to go from 0 to 1 in terms of new prospect turns into a client via our platform immediately. Like it's very hard to build that rapport and that trust online. We can do a good enough job to build enough of it so that the person wants to reach out and then they have a conversation. But Drew, I mean, I'm curious with you, like, what do you think? Why do people trust you for financial advice, whether it's pre you being an advisor or you in a few months as an advisor? Like, what made people trust you?
I told them I could get them 50% returns every single year.
That's all you promise? I've been promising so much more for years.
I said guaranteed. Okay,
Oh,
guaranteed.
there you go.
Yeah.
No
You brought the
downside.
G word out. Watch out.
And so once I did that, boom, baby, I was off to the races. I think someone's gonna just take that clip, and just
Oh, it's already done. An
already
AI
done.
was
Yep.
an
Nail
AI is
me
going
on
to
it.
take that. Yeah,
Yeah.
an AI ambulance chaser bot.
for sure.
Yeah, it's coming for
Yeah.
you.
So the way I have it structured at Core is, we as individual advisors have our own marketing, our own, they're really our back office, right? They're kind of like an XYPN. It's a little bit looser, more indie in their way. And so for me, the people I'm looking to help and I'm wanting to help are people that are entrepreneurs like yourself who deal with variable cash flow and all those kinds of decisions, and creators, other creatives, right? People in the industry here. So I think I can bridge that gap for people. I think, just as an example, most of the creators I know, I don't think they want to just retire and play golf. What their retirement looks like is the ability to work on the things that they find meaningful. And that's true for many people nowadays, but especially as artists, right? To be able to finally not have to make that one mural for that one Olive Garden or whatever restaurant was going on, over there that I hate. And I can just make something, and have the space and time to make something. So I'm, working, I think that I understand because that's my own desires, in many ways. Although I really love this space of being able to help people. That's why I wanted to come into this. That's also beneficial. So yeah, I mean, I think, as far as that's concerned, there's trust. I had a little anonymous X account for a while. And so, I posted on there and I built not a very tiny little audience, but I met people like Matt and real people on there. So I think there's some maybe trust, in that regard. And I did go after, Kaplan has like sort of advanced portfolio designation I did, which counted for the CFP investment module. I don't know if I told you, Matt, but I am starting the CFP course in March to take it in November.
Awesome.
So like, I'm doing things that I think are useful to help, people. But, at the end of the day, I think I know a decent amount and I feel comfortable talking about it, and I'm very good at finding answers to things I don't know, and I know my limitations. So I think people trust that when I say that to them. If it's something niche that I don't understand, I'm going to find you the right answer. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Says the guy with currently 0 clients, but moving forward.
Well, still, there's something to you. I think like this entire dialogue, you being able to come on, talk to me without knowing me and being able to explain your background, ask me really good questions, being able to talk to me, have a good conversation. I think that is key when it comes to acquiring clients, honestly. I talk to a lot of advisors who, like, they can't have a conversation. And it's very hard in that meeting with me and them for me to say, I think that we're a good platform for you. Because you're not. It's like, if you can't have a conversation with me, how do you expect to have a conversation with a prospective client? You have to have enough, and I hope that's not too mean, but it's like you have to have enough trust in yourself, enough, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word I'm missing in my mind, but like you have that, Drew. Like, you have the ability to talk to people, people skills. And I think you need that as an advisor. So I think that's why
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
You're gonna have at least one client someday soon. That's what he's trying to tell you. That's the vote of
Matt,
confidence.
I think you need my help, Matt. You looking for a new advisor?
I'm always like, no. With 50% returns, how can I not be?
Yeah.
Inside of that, and actually, I don't think it's mean, and I think it's important. And I think there's 2 layers of this, Jason. The being able to converse, because that's how we build trust through repeat interactions. And we build trust, just like you were talking about earlier with the spark, where trust is formed over a series of relationships. And there's ways to sort of fast track it when you have a good match. Mm-hmm. But there's also ways where it's just like you got to feel each other out for a while. And that's just not an easy process. And, technology didn't really solve that beyond maybe, I don't know, whatever the dating app is du jour that I'm too old to have experienced.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you think about that? The conversational element of just being like trust building is still kind of an old school skill, and maybe it's timeless.
Are you asking how I think about that as a whole, or like
philosophically, and then apply it to your business? But you have to have a thought on this philosophically because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the Jeopardy music in this segment.
No, I mean,
I'm just going to run it full length and make it incredibly awkward for you. No, think about it. Think about the...
Every second costs hundreds of dollars, Jason. Every second costs hundreds of dollars.
We're going to put a little
CNBC,
100th of a second clock on the screen. But it's like, it's the want ads. The want ads are, I want a new... Don't buy a couch on Craigslist, But like whatever it is you want to get, and then you're looking for the exact thing. And when it's purely transactional, price is the determinant. With something like advice, price is not the sole determining factor. There's the trust that needs to be built. I know you've thought about ways to help engineer that trust finding exercise.
Yeah, no, we have. I mean, I think, at a high level, not even really applying to, business as a whole, trust can only be built by so many ways. It's like, do I like the person? Do they kind of look like me? Like there's like things that is there commonalities, whether it's personality, looks, demographics. Who knows this person? Do I know anybody that knows this person? So like, I think that's why dating apps also made it the goal for like just to build some kind of initial spark and connection, but not the actual relationship part. But yeah, I think trust, it's old school. Like it hasn't changed how you build trust with someone. I don't know, in the last 100 years. I mean, since people started communicating with each other, I bet. So that's how, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that it's a terrible way of me answering that question. I'm not good at philosophy.
It's a big
Um,
philosophical question. Drew, do you have any thought on? Do you have any
Drew,
thought on
please
this?
save me here. Yeah,
Save your
Uh,
buddy Jason
save
here.
me.
on trust.
Yeah, informing it because let's face it, you're in the habit of building trust now with
Yeah, yeah,
people,
yeah.
durable, long-standing trust.
I think it starts with your own integrity, right? I mean, if you're not aligned in yourself and your values and what you want to go get at in life, people are going to feel that right away.
Mhm.
And when you're solid and you know what you're going for, I just think it's clear. It's almost like a byproduct of doing the work on yourself. And I think, and obviously it takes time, right? Like any relationship, takes time to build trust and work things out and know that you're going to be there for, that person's going to be there for you and you're going to be there for them, when you need it. And I don't know if you can cheat that. You can't get around it. You just have to go through hard times sometimes, right? And maybe it's, thinking about advisors, right? Markets have been, let's say you join on with someone post 2022 and everything's just going up, 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 up. Well, okay, that's great. And maybe that person's a little flaky to you, but I imagine if we get another, I don't know, 2008, market drops 50%, 30%, whatever it might be, and now they're terrified and they reach out to you and you say, I'm here to help you. I'm going to guide you. It's going to be okay. I mean, I just imagine the level of trust you have together goes up immensely. And now that client is a client for life. That's my sense, right? But I don't know if you can't like, there's no simulator, you can put people into to build that out, nor would you want to. So I don't know. I just think it's about time and just about being genuine. It seems like it has to be. And you can always tell when the people are like kind of salesman-y or, um, and I've always been turned off by those people. So
Yeah.
I suppose I also don't want to work with those people myself, right? If I feel like, so I don't know. I think it's a two-way street, but
I kind of like you kind of set that up for me really well, so thank you. And
yeah,
you're right. Like trust, you, you know when someone's being trustworthy, like they have good intentions. And I come back to a quote from my grandfather. Not well, I mean, I think many people say this, but like I always live by it. It's about reputation, but it's related to trust. And it's like, it takes years to build a reputation and seconds to lose. And like that's all. That's what I come back to every single day. That you do, showing up and doing the right thing always, and being trustworthy. Yeah, that's kind of I guess what it is. But people know if like you're not being trustworthy. People know if you aren't really in it for the right reasons, and you can feel that in a conversation with someone. So like with an advisor, you know that like if they're not in it and they're distracted by the conversation or they're just like not interested in you, you can feel that, and then that loses trust right away. Like there's things that lose that that make people lose trust, and I think it's hard to, back to Matt's point, like you can't really bring that really online necessarily. It's very 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 hard to. Um, so yeah.
I wrote down a few
how
notes.
how did you first convince people to sign up with you and advisor finder? I mean, because that took some level of trust, right?
Well, Matt, what did I do to you? What Matt was one of our first customers, like
Oh wow.
back in the day. So I don't know. I think it was like being just genuine. Like I said to him, we have no product, but this is what I want to build. Like this is why I quit my job. I was an advisor, and I think that there needs to be a better way to find advisors. And I think I just like was genuine, and like as I am today, like I have not changed at all in terms of how I have approached this, and I am I've lost many, many, many deals because I am not salesy, and that's okay. So I think I've just approached it with being very genuine, um, and being like I actually care about what people tell me, and I don't know. I think that's how. And also, Matt didn't have the best experience the first little while, and it's still up in there. But you know what? Like being honest about that too. I don't know. Just
Wait,
being
wait,
honest.
do say more. What was that? What was that about? Come on,
No, I'm just you know
let's get into the conflict and the drama. Like I'm a screenwriter, okay? Like I don't want like all things are
it's a good
nice and
story for you to
rosy. Who
write.
cares? That's not good podcast material. Like give me
Yeah.
the bad stuff.
It was
Well,
4 a.m. on Shabbat. He was huddled by his phone.
Matt came knocking on my door.
Yeah. Who was at the door?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where this is going.
Yeah.
But
uh,
I
to
think
say, whoa. Who? Okay.
the customer is
podcast
always
is
right.
it? Yours,
The guest
yeah.
is always right. Go.
It. I mean, Drew, like, it was. It was hard to launch a two-sided business at the same time when you have zero investors and you're just trying something and you're trying to solve a problem in a super unique way that really has never been tried, attempted before in the way that we did it. So yeah, it was, yeah, I mean, we just didn't produce.
What is you, and you'll forgive me because I really am just getting into the advisor space.
Yeah.
I've been living in like the personal finance investor space,
Yeah.
but now I'm getting into the advisor space. What is your unique value add? Like why should I as an advisor want to come hang out with you guys?
It comes down to you want to be where people are searching for advisors. That is the goal of a lead gen organic growth platform. That's, we call ourselves, organic growth platform. So like you would come to us because we are able to drive people that are actually looking for advisors. And we do so in a way that is good for the consumer and also good for the advisor. And if you treat the consumer right and you help them actually, discover and search for an advisor, the end result is, they can find someone like you, Drew, that, they love your glasses, they like your background, they resonate in some way, and they want to reach out to you. Like, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I do like your glasses. That's why I said that. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
if you're in the market for an advisor, Jason, you should reach out to Joe.
That is it's the only reason I'm going to get clients. Actually, I once I'll tell a fun story. I won't say who the director is. There's a pretty he's a fantastic director himself, and he's well regarded in the theater. And it was during I had a Drama League directing fellowship, which was like this directing fellowship for mid-career kind of emerging directors. And he came in and he talked about his early career. He's now a successful director. He's at a major university, and he said that he had a mentor sit him. He wasn't doing something. I can't remember the exact story, but something like he wasn't getting the jobs that he thought he should get when he was doing an interview. And he said his mentor sat him down and said, "Your glasses are boring. You need to fix your glasses. People want to look at you a certain way. They want to think about you a certain way. And when you have lame glasses, then no one trusts you." He said he changed it. He got better glasses, and he started doing well.
That is
That is a real story that I heard. And I think that comes to what you're saying about trust too. It's also, it is about it is in certain ways about appearance and how you present yourself. It totally is. And I think people do respect people that are put together, or if you're interested in that kind of thing, if meaning maybe someone doesn't care about glasses, I don't know, some engineer or whatever, it's okay, they won't care. But if you sounds like you're someone who also has a foodie nature, I do want to hear more about this kind of creative sushi side to you. Like, if you're the kind of person that cares about that, and in the arts, obviously people very much care about appearances in many cases. I'm not saying beauty. I just mean like they're visual people, right? So
There's an aesthetic. There's a vibe
there's
check
an aesthetic.
that goes on. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's trying. There is that. In the same way that I'm not wearing like a Patagonia finance bro vest, right? Because that's not who I'm trying to go for. I'm not trying to get Mr. whatever high net worth who wants that. So I think that there's that kind of trust too, and that kind of cultural connection as well.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He
gave us a cool glasses story. You can give us a good sushi story or something at least. You got a great
yeah. But I do want to hear it.
food.
So that was the intro. So tell me about the foodie life. What's with that?
My obsession with sushi, or just food as a whole?
But I don't know you. So was it just food, or is it specifically sushi?
Well, No, I mean, it's
And
so
what
like,
do you and what do you think about grocery store sushi? Those are my three
okay.
questions.
All right. Let's unpack. So I think, it's like cliche to say, but like I think food brings people around, and like it brings good people and have good conversations. Like I think just like food brings people together, and like I was definitely part of the family that had big family dinners, um, you know, big family kind of big Jewish family dinners too, and like good conversation. So I think food's always been a part of my life in like that sense that it just brought people together. And then, um, like it's funny to say, but literally, if you ask anyone, like, yeah, I have a love of sushi, and I think like subconsciously there's a reason why, and I think it's just because it's just like there's an art to it. Like there's good sushi and then there's bad sushi, not fish aside, but like how people cut and respect like the craft is very unique. So I think that's like part of why I like the aesthetic of sushi. Um, but like my sushi story, I don't know if I'm trying to think of like a really interesting story that's really almost like glasses in some way, like the direct.
Give us a great experience. Like, where's a cool place you ate or a memorable? There's got to be like some memorable meals or places, sushi aside. Like, we are all appreciators of experiences on this
Yes.
show. Let me just make that abundantly clear to you guys.
Yeah. So it's funny, like, and I'm gonna tie this to being the business owner. We're all business owners, and we're like, we run our own business in some way, and like, I think you do need to create an experience that's like memorable for the prospect. Your prospective client. Like, they need to leave like they remembered you in some way. Um, and there's a lot to be said about like restaurants and creating an experience. And what I have always said is we want to have, finding an advisor is a very tough thing. And I look at it going to a party or a really nice restaurant. If you go into a nice restaurant and no one introduces themselves to you, the host just says nothing and welcome by, and you're sitting there and you're not sure what to do, like you're going to be confused, lost, agitated, like you're just going to feel out of place. But if someone introduces themselves to you and walks you to the bar, tells you tells you the best cocktail, and introduces you to the bartender, like that's an experience. So recently, actually, in LA, I was there for work. And I had
Oh, there we go. Is that? There's the connection.
He was in LA
I
once for work. There it is.
Oh no! Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Jason. I misunderstood you. I thought you said you lived in LA. No, I was like,
no,
Matt,
no.
that's a
That would be
connection.
awesome.
Oh,
That
I
would
don't.
be
I live
awesome.
I live.
So
on the
sorry.
opposite side
I
of-
misunderstood.
You're good. And I was in LA. This is like about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I went to this amazing restaurant, and it was like one of the best experiences. Like they walked me to this little seating area. I had a pre-dinner drink. They explained what's going on. You're gonna have a little drink. You're going to have some tiny little courses first, and then when you're finished, we're gonna walk you to the back, and you'll sit at the sushi bar. And it was omakase style, so like piece by piece by piece by piece. And like that was a memorable experience that I'm telling you guys right now. I remember almost everything that happened, and like I think there's something to that experience that I am just drawn to because I love good experiences. So I think that's why I love sushi so much too, and it's good. It's just good food. Grocery store sushi, hey, it depends. I haven't had it in a while, but I would eat it.
I don't know what this says about me, but I'm a big grocery store sushi fan.
The
a
right
big-
grocery store is
Where?
fine.
What
The right
kind?
grocery store is fine.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like I've even been into a Kroger's that's like I grew up in Dallas, in Dallas. So there's a Kroger that like actually made good sushi, and I like it because you're already grocery shopping. You want something quick to eat, you can pick up some grocery store sushi on the way. I also like real sushi, but my wife jokes because I make a thing out of grocery store sushi. I think it's a style of sushi. In fact, maybe it should be,
Its own thing.
a business made out of like you open a restaurant that's called grocery store sushi. I mean, these are my great ideas. This is welcome to creative ideation, with Drew.
I need to actually have some grocery store sushi soon because lunches are a tough one for me sometimes, and dinners. If I don't know what to do, I might rip open a can some canned mackerel. So, yep, I went there. I went there. I went there.
Jason, now I actually know why we're connected because I'll open up a can of sardines.
Oh my God! What? You want to know what's hysterical? Is I got canned fish for a birthday once. Like a bunch of canned fish. My sister got me like a lot of sardines, mackerel, smoked
Amazing.
mackerel. Yeah. That's so funny. Wow.
Yeah, big fan, big fan. It's just, I mean, when you're just looking for something quick, high protein, like let's go for it,
Does your wife say, "God, that smells so bad," or no?
Terrible, terrible. I
Yeah.
have to. I've eaten it outside, before many times if she's in the room. And sardines are one of those things where it doesn't matter how many times you brush your teeth for the next. And I've tried. Trust me, I've tried. I've used mouthwash.
Yeah.
I've brushed my teeth.
Tried to sneak a few in, think you're gonna be okay.
Oh man, it stays with you. It
That's
stays with
so
you
funny.
for a long time. So there's some downsides to sardines. I don't want to, like everything, there's risk and return, right?
There is. No, I agree with you.
I would
You have to remind
never
me.
eat that before a date.
No, please don't. It's a good thing you're married and she's already been vowed into this arrangement with your dietary habits. Have you guys met? Do you guys know John Stoy? Stoj Stoy?
Yeah.
Do you know his sushi stories?
Yes. He had a sushi restaurant.
Yeah, he tried to almost solve the grocery store sushi problem at one point with schools. It was, what if we had why can't every school have a sushi lunch?
It's yeah, you're right. I feel like he actually might have put that on his profile, if I remember that correctly.
He does. It's on his website. Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
As
I've
it
done
should be, because it's an amazing story. It's an
It's
amazing
so
story.
funny.
I mean,
All right.
Jason, this leads me. Sorry, can I ask one more question to Jason? I know
Yeah,
that's-
shoot another question.
J-
We're good.
Please tell. I mean, have you been to Japan? I'm assuming you've been to. Jason.
Oh, the look of shame. The look
No,
of shame.
I haven't.
Spoken
been
like a
a-
man. Are those Japanese glasses, Drew? Did you get those in Japan?
Drew, don't do this to me. I have not, and I want to very, very badly. I think at some point, not I think, I will. I'm talking into existence. I will. I want to go so badly. I took my first real vacation in the last few years in September. So once I can afford to take more time off in the next few years, Japan is on the list. I need to go. Have you been?
I have. Yeah, I have.
Multiple times? Just once? You got any big
Just once,
recommendations?
just once.
Gosh.
You want to tease him with anything?
I'm jealous.
I mean, yeah, it's such a culture shock in many ways, and it's incredible, and the service and everything else, and it's incredible. Obviously, the fish and sushi are amazing. I will say that I will tell you that actually the most meaningful part of the trip, this is just kind of unique, is going to Hiroshima and experiencing that. I was blown away by that. And we went on our honeymoon, and I was like, maybe I don't want a Debbie Downer, on our honeymoon. And
Bonus points for that shout out.
yeah, and it was really impactful. And everyone I tell, when I say you should go to Japan, it's a city of peace. It's a city of optimism and hope that came out of it, and I found that very meaningful.
Wow.
Watching sumo wrestling is also incredibly entertaining. So definitely can recommend it. I think that you shouldn't wait for the right time to go. I think you should just find time in your schedule and go.
See,
There's not going to be a good time, Jason. As your advisor, there's not going to be a good
I
time.
was just gonna say, this is why you'd be a good advisor.
There's not going to be a good time. There will never be a good time for you to do this. And everyone else is always going to have another opinion about where they want to go. So you just have to draw your line in the sand. I'm thinking that spring, best time to go in Japan. You have time to plan the trip.
I might have to take some time off.
Jason's going to be calling in from Japan next time. That's all I'm
Exactly.
saying.
Yeah.
That's the way this
Okay,
is going to go.
so if for a week people can't find an advisor, okay, they'll find an advisor in the next week.
Just
You're
take
right.
the advisor, find her site down for a week just in case.
Yeah, I'll just take it down for a whole week.
Yeah.
That's actually real funny.
One of
Me
those
too.
under construction banners. It'll be
It's
fine.
speaking of like kind of that, and like I think this is relatable. You know, we talk about turning off as a business owner and like trusting yourself to turn off. I think for me, trusting the team to run the business while I was away was a huge feat I had to get. I mean, I don't know. It's a huge amount I had to climb.
How will they make decisions without me to make
Yeah.
the decisions for
And it
them?
was the
Because
best decision I ever made. It was so good for me to leave. So I don't know if Drew, I think one day you'll have a team of many, many advisors and you'll feel the same way and you'll remember Jason said it was hard to leave, just leave. And also I'll say, Drew said go to Japan and I'm going to go to Japan. So
I mean, our work here is nearly done.
that's funny.
If we're getting you to Japan, we're almost there. Okay, I do officially have notes and questions for both of you that I want to get back to because I think this is so interesting. Jason, I'm starting with you. Drew made the point about like doing this coaching work and whatever in the Jewish community, and in this like, it's like this Venn diagram when he says that I'm like, it's this Venn diagram of overlapping interests where people will connect with you. I mean, what do you think about that? That's in person, not necessarily fishing for clients, but it's like lining up 6 things that make sense. It seems really obvious.
Makes so much sense. Yeah. I mean, I talked to, so, you know, Drew, I have advisors that want to join the platform, and it's an investment. It's a hefty investment. And I say, what are you doing outside of online activities to acquire new clients? And they're like, not too much. I'm like, go out and go to your network, go meet the people. You're not going to join our platform. Talk to me in a few years. Let's keep in touch. Like, so for you, that's a great idea. I think that's the best thing you can do is go to your natural network. You know people, there's already rapport and trust. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea.
This is for Drew, and it came up a couple of times in things Jason was saying, and it's the element of helping two people to tell the stories. Like he was talking about the spark and like just trying to spark the thing that gets the next thing to move forward. I mean, you've obsessed over storytelling, you've obsessed over storycraft and all these elements. Do you tie those two things together? Is there a story equivalent to the spark that when he's talking about that, you're like, oh, I'm just moving a plot forward and here's the way to do it? Like finding clients for various advisor types, playing that matchmaker, actually designing the spark. There's a real storytelling element to that to me. And I'm just curious where your brain goes there because you've got a different type of brain for this type of stuff.
Yeah, my brain always goes to conflict, and I mean that in a positive way. There's no story without conflict. There is, you know, if there's not a protagonist going against something difficult, they say in writing you should torture your protagonists. That's the only way to get good story out of them. You have to torture them, and it's very hard because you like your characters and your protagonists. I think it's the same thing for telling stories to clients, and I don't mean this in a bad, but you have to hit their pain points, right? And so I personally look at it very cleanly. Like when I think of story, I think of advisor to client. It's a hero's journey. They are the Luke Skywalker, name your hero, right? Going on their journey. It's about them, not the advisor. Yeah, our background is interesting. We all want to, oh, you Star Wars, I love Star Wars. We all want to know about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like we all, you know, we love that. We like his backstory. But at the end of the day, the driver is Luke. There's no good story with Luke if there's not Darth Vader. So to keep pushing this metaphor, you know, you have to focus on like what's hard for what is their difficult piece? Why do they need an advisor? What is hard about them? And then why is this advisor really the best guy to guide them on that story and get them over those hurdles? I think that's the framing, right? And so it starts with them, the hero, their story, and it's how can this advisor guide them? And then, yeah, I don't know, like I mean that's where my head goes, right? And like I think leaning into the conflict, leaning into the difficulty is where the juice is, because otherwise if things were just going really right for them, what use do they have for you? But if so it's okay, they're really too busy. They're just a high net worth person that is just far too busy to manage it. That's a pain point. And you're exactly the person who can take it all off their hands, not a little bit, but all of it. So I don't know. I think in terms of in terms of, those pieces, I don't know that I don't know if that answered the question, Matt, but that's kind of where my head goes in terms of story and spark.
Yeah, I wonder to hear where your brain went with it. Jason, do you have any thoughts on that? I'm just curious because I'm going to be playing that clip back actually. So,
Yeah. So, one of my mentors and one of the most successful advisors, I think, I don't know, I'll just say that generally. His name is Joe, if I can name drop, is one of the best storytellers. I go to his office and he is so good at telling stories. He's so good at capturing people's attention. And the stories that he tells, like there's typically like an element of why he does what he does. And he's able to articulate the story and tell the story in a way that like shares his unique value prop as an advisor. How long he's become an advisor for. He ties in stories from like his background playing football and working under Lou Holtz to like crafting into helping people. Like one of the things I remember is he like asks a question. He said, like my clients believe that the world is round, and like he's like, so if I can tell a story and you still think that the world that the earth is round, that the earth is flat, then like you're not a good fit for me. But if you believe that what I believe, that the earth is round and blah blah blah, and it goes in the story, then like we'll be a good fit. So like I don't know, I think his story is just him crafting his own story so well in the context of who he's talking to, capturing their attention based on something that they're interested in, and like bringing that in, and then I don't know, it just builds some kind of connection. He's an amazing storyteller and very successful at being an advisor. I think he celebrated his 50th year at Wells.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
that's a career.
Yeah.
There's something inside of that, Drew, which is, and it's something else that you actually said, but maybe you can expand on this. You were talking about, and this is what we were talking about, Dave Ramsey and stuff like that. And you were saying like, all I do is workarounds. Talking about the same thing with Shabbat and like basically saying, no, like I don't have an answer. I can't give you advice. I just have a workaround. And there's something as I'm hearing Jason say that, treating somebody with like, I see exactly where you are and I can't actually fix you, but I can help you with workarounds. I'm good at workarounds. You don't have the reps in to like say this with a giant thing of confidence yet, but I mean, I'm sure you can draw from this from the film work and everything else. Are you the workaround guy in all the different aspects of your life almost?
I think it's to be honest, not with other people. I think it's more about, to be honest, more about
Interesting.
myself and my own processes. I'm just trying to relate to it in terms of film or writing projects that I've had. No, I mean, no, yeah, okay, yes, actually, I'll give you an example. I was working on I was writing a movie musical for a producer, and he had a very clear idea of what he wanted it to be, and it was a good idea. And the more research I did, the more I realized it's sort of true. It was based on a true story, a true figure. I realized it's sort of true. It's sort of true what he wants. So yeah, I had to write a script that was completely workarounds in order to, make it work. To find my way around it. I couldn't just, So I do think maybe, yeah, in that regard, yeah, actually, if I think about screenwriting and directing in particular, it's all workarounds. I mean, it's all that kind of improvisation. It's all we can't go this way. So what are these things over here that end up making it the thing it is, that make it the really interesting project, it is. So yeah, maybe you could just say life is one big workaround. But in terms of like self-discipline or, but I agree, I love that framing, Matt. I mean, I think that's great in terms of you for instance, looking at a client with, I mean, this is a classic. People use this all the time. Client who just cannot seem to save money. Not that they, don't have the resources. They're making enough, but they can't. What's a classic workaround? automate it. Just put it there first before you touch any of your other money. That's like I think that's a good example. And I think it's very hard to change human behavior, just honestly, without an incredible amount of work. And the chances that someone is going to do that work is very small. So if you're building your ideas or whatever around that, good luck to you. It seems to me you'll be, facing an uphill battle. But I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Yeah. I don't know about workarounds elsewhere, but yeah, those are my thoughts as you said it.
I like it because I like the ability, and it's truly an artist's ability to connect disparate. Like somebody throws a bunch of dots on the table, and they're like, either you're going to tell me there's a constellation here that I don't see yet, or I'm just going to assume these are a bunch of dots on the table. And you're immediately like, oh no, I got a star chart here. Like, let me tell you the story of this star chart. It's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Jason, I have one more question for you. And that's about this idea of being genuine. We're talking about integrity, giving it time, and that word, and genuine. What do you think? Like, define that. Give me an example of it. Give me something that's, when you say that word, that really, like, I circled it and underlined it when you said that. And I was like, I love this statement. What does it mean to you?
I think it's like always being who you are, and like not changing. I don't know. I think it's always being who you are. When I first, I hate to relate back to the starting the company, but like when I first started the business, I met with Cheryl, owns Females in Finance. Cheryl Dickerson, is that? I can't remember her. Cheryl Hickerson. Excuse me, Hickerson. And it was after a 30-minute meeting, and this was like a month after I had just quit my job. And I'm like me, I talk quick, I talk with my hands, I'm like kind of emotional, good and bad. And she's like, Jason, like never change who you are, just be yourself. And she said it's going to carry you a long way. And like I think it has. I mean, being genuine has made my life just like better, easier, just because I don't need to fake it of like who I am or who I'm not. I just am who I am. I think that's, and people see that. And I think that carries you a long way. If people can see it, then they trust you. Like, if you're genuine, and you're not putting on a front, or rather, if you put on a front, I think it's hard for people to trust you. So I don't know. Is that an answer?
I think that's a great answer, and I love that story that somebody gave you that advice a month in, because man, are we susceptible to people putting bad stuff in our brain a month in.
Yeah.
So kudos to her.
And I was out. Get it out of my head.
Yeah.
I think, in like you asked for another story. I mean, that's one story I can give you, but I was at a meeting in New York City, and it was with one of the largest private equity firms. It was actually the CEO and co-founder. And it was like 20 people in the meeting, and he says, if anyone wants to go to a hockey game, I own a team. And he like made that joke or that comment, maybe as a joke. No one was going to take on the offer. Well, got his card, texted him, was like, hey, it's Jason. Like, we'd love to go to a game. And I said it in like the way that I usually type, which is kind of just, a little casual. He's like, all right, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. So I don't know, just like, that's a terrible example, but like, I don't know, just like if I put on like a front,
that's a great example.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a great example. You're just like, you know what? I'm this person who's just going to text you off the fly and be like, yeah, let's go for it. You said you had a hockey team, like you called it out. So
yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
You opened this door.
Yeah. But like, I think if someone, I could have been like, buttoned up, New York, professional, good to meet you. I'll never talk to you again. But I texted him. I don't know. It's just, there's been many things in my life in the last few years, especially that like being genuine has paid off really nicely. And like, I go back to just, reputation. Like I want my reputation to obviously be positive, but like I want people to know me for me. And yeah. I don't know where I was going with that.
We know where you're going at. We're going right to here. Drew, it's time to play the game. You're going to guess. Why do you think I really wanted to introduce you to your new friend, Jason Friedman, here today?
Well, it's not LA, so we
We can take that one off. Or Japan.
Yeah, take that one.
Or Japan.
Or Japan.
Yeah.
It's not grocery store sushi.
Ooh, are we getting warmer or colder? That's the question.
Yeah. I would say that my sense is that Jason is as an advisor has had experience and is much further down the line in terms of having been an advisor, and also someone who literally connects advisors to clients. It sounds pretty relevant to a guy like me, starting out at a firm. And I don't know, that to me that seems to be that's where I would place my bets on why you brought us together.
I like the feel of that. What about you, Jason? What do you got? Take a guess.
I think that we both like are very authentically ourselves. And I think that we both, I'm not creative in the sense that I am creating scripts and art, but like I think I have some kind of creativity, and Drew does too. So, I think we relate on that level. Like I'm creating something. Drew's creating, well, he's also creating the business now too. But it's created, works. And I think that it's like we both are willing to do something that people have probably told us like not to pursue. That's my thought.
So I wrote this down before you guys got on, obviously, here.
All right.
And I wrote down finding your people, old and new, across journeys.
Okay.
With the idea that I think both of you have now, in more than one job, have had to sort of re-piece together new networks. And it's a really, really cool thing to hear Drew tell all of his film industry stories, all the way from coming out of college and doing Shakespeare, and then actually building this, I put it in the intro for a reason, this like journeyman business of how do I stay in this industry? Really, really hard to do. And Jason going through a bunch of different firms, a bunch of different experiences, and then being called so hard to do a problem, they're going to lift yourself out of that and go, I have to make a whole new group of friends. Some of them that are just, the deadbeat schmoes of the internet who invite you on their podcast, and other ones who are like, I have a hockey team. You should text me sometime. And look, I mean, that's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn cool. But I love that. And I love that both of you are so committed to the people around you in these communities on what you're doing. Neither of you are acting alone, whether that's Drew seeking out somebody like Guy, prior guest on Just Press Record here, and like collaborating with them there, or Jason finding your founders, finding your team, and figuring out they'll let you take a vacation once in a while, which is awfully nice of them. Awfully nice of them.
They push for it too.
I can see why. They know it's healthy. They know it's smart. So I'm glad you guys got introduced. Jason, we're going to help Drew find some clients, right? This is part of what's coming out of this.
Definitely.
All right. That's coming in the intro email after this.
And I'm going to help you, Jason. You are a creative. Everyone is. Everyone has it in
Yes,
them. And
indeed.
when you're building your business, everything from how you think about it to, you were the one, I'm assuming, had to click yes on what your website looks like, on how the branding thinks and feels.
Yeah.
I know you had people, right? But so you absolutely created something that obviously, now that I'm talking back, of course, it's the fact that we're both very entrepreneurial in spirit, have made leaps from different places. And you are very creative. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There's a lot of ways to be creative.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Drew. I also know why we connected. Matt, this was a perfect connection. You know what? You're a perfect matchmaker. That's what.
I'm taking it all the way to the bank. All the way to that invisible piggy bank in the sky.
Matchmaker, make
There it
me
is.
a match. Yeah,
I knew it
that's
was
what I
coming.
wanted.
It's been stuck in my head all day. It's an affliction.
Yeah.
Drew, if people want to find you, they want to bug you on the internet, where should we send them these days?
Yeah, you can go to moneyformakers.com.
Get there.
Or
Wait, where?
or you can find me on Instagram or X, the Drew Feldman.
Okay, I was saying, get that new Twitter handle out there for the people.
Yeah,
So,
no longer
the
trending
Drew.
value. Yeah, now I'm just, I don't know what I am. I'm just a volatile, what kind of stock I am right now. But yeah.
That's okay. You're better than Fartcoin. We'll give you that.
Yeah.
Jason, what about you? People want to find more, bug you on the internet. Where should they look you up?
I think LinkedIn is perfect. Jason Friedman on LinkedIn. Website is advisorfounder.com. If you want to go to the site and find my contact details there. Yeah. Perfect.
Easy to track down. I'm grateful to both of you being out there and doing this type of work and sharing these types of stories. I'm so happy you came to hang out with me today. You're watching Just Press Record. This is Cultish Creative YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all the things below. You know the drill. We are out. Thanks for joining us. Like, comment, and hey, subscribe below to Cultish Creative on YouTube if you haven't already. As the good compliance people want me to remind you, Matt Ziegler, that's me, is a managing director at Sunpoint Investments. The opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Sunpoint Investments. No information on this podcast should be construed as investment advice. Securities discussed in the podcast may be holdings of clients of Sunpoint Investments. I hope you've been entertained. I hope you found this useful. I hope you talk to a professional before you try any of this stuff at home. And most of all, I hope you've subscribed. Be nice to each other out there. And don't forget, head over to cultishcreative.com and let's make curiosity a habit together. And I'm out.